We're back here backstage at the Hollywood Bowl, bringing you our live coverage of the 1984 Playboy Jazz Festival. This is Jim Gosa, and we'll be here throughout the afternoon with interviews and music of the festival. What we just heard was a cut from the 1982 festival, which was done by the band called Pieces of a Dream, a year that they headlined here at the festival, in a tune called Pop Rock. On stage right now, here at the Hollywood Bowl, is the phenomenal singer Linda Hopkins. And still to go this afternoon and this evening, some great jazz entertainment from the likes of Weather Report and Woody Herman, Yellow Jackets, B.B. King, Shorty Rogers, and Mel Torme. So there's going to be great music all afternoon and all evening here at the Hollywood Bowl. So come down and join us if you can. Tickets are still available. And if you didn't get that telephone number before, let me mention it once again. The number to call for ticket information is 271-7577. Of course, that's area code 213. And it's 271-7577. We'll continue our coverage of the festival and get a chance to meet the gentleman who is back out here to serve as the master of ceremonies for the 1984 Playboy Jazz Festival, Bill Cosby, when we return in just a moment. With
tribute to Willie Bobo, and then the youngsters, the James Newton Quartet breaking out, and then we go into Linda Hopkins, who will gospel. Yeah, absolutely. Then we get into the Weather Report group, which is strongly into the Anglo-Saxon classical music with the Afro-Cuban, Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Cana. You have Woody Herman, who gathers up a bunch of young guys and then goes in with the young ideas, and you see that Mr. Herman can still play his spaces and his time.
Comes alive on the stage.
Yeah, then you get a group like Yellow Jackets, and once again you got some young cats punching and looking for the titty boom.
Looking for the new directions.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when the guys in the Woody Herman band were older than you?
Yeah, I remember when the guy that took my quarter at the toll booth was older than I. And then you got B.B. King, who comes with his purist and the dirt floor and the sawdust on it. And you go to Shorty Rogers, and all of us who are familiar with California, all of us who are familiar with Shelly Manne, all of us who are familiar with the Frank Sinatra Otto Preminger movie, Art Pepper, people who remember, sure. Chico Hamilton days, Buddy Collette, all that particular period. So it'll be wonderful to see him do that. And then, of course, it's closed out with Mel Torme, whom many people across the board feel is one of the kings of the music, not just with singing, but with thought and transforming scat singing from the spoken, understood word.
You have had considerable success in your chosen field, but I know that when you were a young fella, you dabbled around in music. Do you ever regret making the choice at that fork of the road that took you from where you could have been what you are, or could have gone and followed music? Do you ever wonder what it would have been like had you followed the other fork?
No, I think that my foundation was built with the idea of the music and of being able to follow structure and have thoughts while following structure. I think it helped me an awful lot with comedy, so that when I talk a routine, I'm constantly looking for something better within the routine, even after I've written it, you see. And I think that it was this association that helped me to become what I am today as a stand-up comedian. I look at people in the business, and I know that they enjoy what they're doing, and I know that I enjoy what I'm doing. So I see happy people. Now, what may turn out to be disenchantment for some may be like Philly Joe Jones, who is struggling to to reach a point of recognition where his group could play down at the Beverly, you see. So Philly Joe Jones has a bit of frustration. All of his reviews are fantastic. They're all great. Damaranian or Damarania. People play the album and they say how great it is, yet I don't think that Philly can get arrested outside of New York
after 40 years.
Well, not so much after 40 years. It is that he has finally brought a group together that is supposedly, according to the critics, a fantastic group. But there are no clubs. There are very few radio stations across the board left that will play the music. Therefore, there's no way really for the public to find out. There's no way for the influence, the exploitation, or anything of it to reach folks so that they would say, Philly Joe Jones, I like Damarania. So he dies, and not dead, but his group dies in New York. Lack of exposure. And for him to travel from here to a club or whatever, we just don't know. If a club owner is willing to send out $6,000 in airfare, and then give a guy $7,000, and he's got to draw $13,000, where he's not really heard. So the excitement for this particular man, I'm very, very happy with what I've chosen to do.
Do you think that's endemic to jazz music, that players like Philly Joe and guys who've really paid their dues are still scuffling, still struggling to make it in the world?
I also think that there is no real steadiness to it. There is no, for instance, even though the 17th violinist in the Houston Symphony is not making that much as that number violinist, he or she will be able to make some money in studio. Yeah. And I think that people like Joe Jones, Philly Joe Jones, they just don't, there's nothing else to go on. There's no other way to make a living unless they trio up and take union prices to play with someone, because when a leader of a group comes in and wants to put together a group, that person, he or she, they really don't want to pay a whole lot of money, so they can get a drummer from someplace else.
Union Hall.
Sure. So I think that the end result for people who choose
like this one,
afternoon and evening, my wife and I book about 3 things on others that nobody can interfere with. One is our trip to France, which is a month long. 2 happens to be the Christmas and New Year holidays. 3 would be any kind of birthday, anniversary kind of thing. And 4 would be this.
Playboy Jazz Festival. 6 years. It's turning in to be a steady job for you.
I like the gig. The money's rotten, but I do like the gig.
You know, one thing I've noticed down through the years, Bill, when you've been the MC, one thing I always miss is you don't seem to give much of yourself to it. You come out and you just act like you're the announcer. You announce the act and you get off. I'd like to see more of you, because I think that down through the years you have established with your audience and with the jazz audience too, a connection, and we'd kind of like to get more of Bill Cosby.
Well, if you're talking about the stand-up comedy, I have eschewed that because this moment really belongs to the fellas. And I don't have any real feeling towards taking time out to do something. I feel that if there's a break of 10 minutes, that's a good moment for the people sitting out there to get into the boxes with the chicken, to sit around and talk with each other, to discuss what they've seen, what they've heard, what they've read. And I think it's helpful as opposed to that constant entertainment. And so they can take a break and get up and walk around. And I like that for them.
You going to keep on doing this?
Yeah, because I love my seat. I have the best seat in the house, man. You know, I can shake Ray Charles' hand. You know, I can punch Woody Herman on the arm, you know. And B.B. King can look over at me and give me a wink. You know, I love things like that. You know, it just, I think when it's all said and done, for instance, the night that Hamp played, well, I went over and sat in on drums that night. And if I ever wanted to get a job as a drummer, and I had to present a resume, I would get the gig without even playing, you know, because that night they had, who was it? It was on, Freddie Hubbard was on trumpet, Al Gray was on trombone, Clark Terry was on trumpet. They had a whole bunch of guys, see, so I would put their names down.
Yeah, I worked with...
Yeah, not like they were in the whole band, you know, but like I played for these guys. Yeah, I would get the gig right away.
Well, you seem to be enjoying this gig a lot, like the rest of us here for this Playboy Jazz Festival weekend. Cos, thanks again. And if you get a chance to stop by and visit, will you do it again?
I'll yell in this window. All right.
Thank you. Bill Cosby with us on our backstage coverage of the Playboy Jazz Festival from the Hollywood Bowl for 1984. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
From the Hollywood Bowl, we're covering the 1984 Playboy Jazz Festival, brought to you by your Southern California Chrysler Plymouth dealers, where the car you've been waiting for is now waiting for you. This is Jim Gosa backstage. We'll be here all afternoon to try and bring you some of the excitement that's going on here at the Hollywood Bowl. And we'll continue with some music that was recorded here in 1982 at that Playboy Jazz Festival that will feature the Dexter Gordon Quartet with a couple of tunes, just like they played them on the stage here at the Playboy Jazz Festival. And then we'll be back here in our broadcast booth backstage at the Hollywood Bowl right after we listen to Dexter Gordon. Well, there's a couple of moments recreated from the 1982 Playboy Jazz Festival. Bill Cosby announcing the Dexter Gordon Band there. We heard Fried Bananas, one of those old familiar Dexter Gordon tunes, and then Dexter's beautiful ballad version of You've Changed, recorded at the 1982 Playboy Jazz Festival. This is Jim Gosa here with our KGO crew to bring you the coverage of the 1984 Playboy Festival, the 6th annual event here at the Hollywood Bowl. We'll be here throughout the afternoon to bring you some of the music and some of the color and excitement of the events that are happening here. And as I mentioned earlier, at about 6:15 or thereabouts, we'll be bringing you a live performance of the great Woody Herman Band tonight. So stay with us here for our live coverage of the 1984 Playboy Jazz Festival. And we'll continue with our coverage with a visit from the young man who was on stage earlier this afternoon, Eric Bobo, the son of the great Willie Bobo. And we'll do that right after we have this. One of the highlights of this year's festival, at least for me, and I'm sure for many of the fans of the late Willie Bobo, was a special tribute that was put together to Willie Bobo this afternoon. It started off the 1984 Playboy Jazz Festival, and an integral part of that tribute to Willie Bobo was the presence of Bo's young son, who is himself a talented and exciting young musician, Eric Bobo. Eric, has it been to you a hindrance or a help to bear the name of of a man who was so well loved and so well known in the music world. Has it been a hindrance or a help to you in your own career?
It's been much of a help because just the fact that I bear the name Bobo and I play the same instrument and we've been compared to playing alike, that it has helped me a lot, and it's been to my advantage. It hasn't really hurt me at all as far as my career. I've just kept on playing his music, and the people are still recepting to it well because they're still coming out, and I'm not going to let that legacy die. So it's been a help to me, much more than a hurt.
It's also kind of a standard, kind of a target for you to reach for, isn't it?
Yes. It's a challenge. It's something that I want to reach. I know it's such a hard challenge for me to go up to that top or to that magnitude that my father did. But I feel that I can do it, and he gave me the confidence to let me know that I can do it. So I'm going to get up there as, I know I will get up there. I know I will.
And he gave you a lot besides that, I think, just being around him, just to watch and learn from him.
Yes, it was interesting, to sit down. We would sit down in the living room wee hours of the night, when I'd have to go to school. And the will to wind up and go on, because when I first started playing, I was really uncertain of how my future was going to be in the music business, because I was really had a lack of confidence in myself to be able to go on. But I just kept that, that kind of a thought going that he wanted me to do it, and it's a part of his dream, and it's always been part of mine. And my family has supported me, so it was all a great help.
It was always just sort of presupposed that you were going to follow in his footsteps as a musician, huh?
Yes, he always used to tell me that when I was in the stomach, that he knew I was going to be the musician. He knew it. Couldn't do it anymore, but even when he couldn't do it physically, it was always the music in his mind, always.
I know he was ill when he was here last year on the stage, and I thought, this man has so much guts and so much courage, and it's just, he's going to perform till he drops. And a great friend and a great man. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the festival. All right.
Terrific. Thank you to Eric Bobo. This is live from the Hollywood Bowl, bringing you our 1984 coverage of the Playboy Jazz Festival. Performers Zoot Sims and Mose Allison and Louis Belson, they'll all be performing this tomorrow afternoon. Charlie Hayden's Liberation Orchestra, which will feature such great players as Ernie Watts and Oscar Brashear. That'll be tomorrow afternoon. Tito Puente will be here. Jaco Pastorius and his exciting band Word of Mouth. Carmen McRae, David Sanborn in his first Playboy Festival appearance here. And tomorrow night, to close off the weekend, the magnificent Ray Charles. So there's just a magnificent and Volcano for hire. Jazz Festival at the Hollywood Bowl for 1984. This is Jim Gosa, along with the man who puts it together every year at the Hollywood Bowl for Playboy magazine for the festival, and for that matter, puts together probably more jazz events and more jazz festivals on the planet than anybody else gone. Mr. George Wein. George, how are you?
I'm fine. It's beautiful out here today. It's just great. It was so hot back east, and to come out here in 75-degree temperature, it's just beautiful.
You're still on the road, huh?
This week, I was Sunday and Monday in Miami, Tuesday and Wednesday in the Bahamas, Thursday and Friday in New Orleans, and I just got off the plane here this morning.
You ever think about slowing down?
I think about it, but I can't seem to get around to it. It's a funny thing, as I have more people working for me. Darlene Chan really produces this whole festival. I do nothing on it, except work with her in the chemistry. Well, I work with her in the chemistry of the program, and she does all the work. And all my festivals, I have people like Darlene that do the real work. But nevertheless, I still have to keep moving around and setting up. We're looking to do maybe a festival in the Bahamas, maybe a festival in Miami. People want to see you, and I just have to be there.
Mel Torme, speaking of chemists, Mel Torme told me recently that he thinks you are the prime chemist in the world when it comes to mixing and matching music events and putting together the people and the artists who might at first glance seem incompatible, but when you do it, you have a sort of a sixth sense of what guys to put together for what effect you want to get.
Well, put it this way, when I started, that was fun. We used to do it. Now it's more or less throwing the balls up in the air and see how they come down, because the times change and your own relationship to the music changes, and we still try to use the same techniques we used 30 years ago when we started the Jazz Festival idea, but we don't have the same people around, so we have to work with what the younger people, and I'm the first to admit, I don't know them as well as I know the older people. I get to know them as the years go on, and so it's still fun. It's still, in fact, it's just a little more haphazard. We don't always know what's going to happen.
When you're putting together a festival, George, what is the central idea? What is the core that you try to come up with?
I try to put together a program that has a certain commercial appeal to the general public without giving up the appeal to the purists. It's always difficult because the purists can be very, very difficult to satisfy. But at the same time, if you do it correctly, you maintain your credibility, and if you maintain your credibility, your event will continue to exist.
It is a very thin line to walk, isn't it? That line between